Sometimes people hide behind Christianity to truly hide and conceal just how evil they can actually be. Imagine one of the members in your church is actually a Lugawu. So this story took place in a small rural village in Haiti. Everyone knows everyone's business, or at least they think they do. We're gonna call the Lougawou Madame Clarice. So Madame Clarice was the picture of holiness. She was head of the church's women's group, always the first to arrive on Sunday. She was known for wearing this wide-brimmed hat that basically casted this shade over her pale face. According to others, she prayed the loudest, gave the most offerings, and visited the sick with a Bible in one hand and tea in the other. This is damn near Mother Teresa herself. However, the elders whispered that her kindness felt too perfect. Bagay sa pa normal, people would say. This isn't normal. So in the neighborhood, children were warned to be home before dark, especially on nights when the moon was thin, because sometimes the dogs would just bark for hours. Some people sworn to have seen a giant creature pass over the rooftops. This creature is described to have fire as a tail, but it just looks like a burning shadow figure. So one year, out of nowhere, babies just started getting sick. They would cry at night, and by morning, they would be weak, pale, and sometimes, unfortunately, gone. The midwives would mumble amongst themselves, "Yon Lugawu ici la?" Meaning, there's a Lugawu here. A fisherman once swore he saw something with long, bony arms. The fisherman described it to have burning red eyes, and it saw the creature. Well, he saw the creature land in the mango tree by Madame Clarice's yard. But by daylight, she was in her garden, humming hymns, her dress crisp and white. At this point, people started suspecting Madame Clarice because the Lougawou landed in your yard. Thing about Haitian people, you only get to fool them once. So people tried to get the pastor to confront Madame Clarice. However, the pastor refused. "She's a woman of God," he would say. And he never sounded that confident saying that either. One night, yet another baby fell gravely ill in the village. And at this point, the people got to catch this Lougawou themselves. So the family decided to keep vigil. Basically, people were taking turns, staying up during the night, watching the kid, keeping watch outside to see if anything pops up. And sometime after midnight, everyone's candles flickered. And outside, they hear something heavy just land on the roof. It sounds like something is scratching at the roof. Everybody was in there, low-key a little terrified. But there was that one brave uncle that knew that somebody had to step outside to face this thing. So he went outside, looked up to the roof, and this man saw a massive winged shadow with a burning tail hunched over the roof. This creature had a long tongue slithering towards the baby's window. So he screams, "Lougawou!" He threw a handful of coarse salt at the creature, and that thing let out a shriek that wasn't even human. The wings snapped open, and the creature just took off into the night. And right before the creature flew away, the uncle caught a glimpse of the creature's face, and it looked exactly like Madame Clarice's face. Well, by morning, Madame Clarice was found collapsed in her yard, clutching her chest. Her Sunday dress was torn, and Madame Clarice basically claimed that she had been attacked by thieves on her way back from prayer. However, that family found that hard to believe. That family found it hard to believe because her feet were burnt with salt marks. Haiti is not the only place with mermaids. If anything, I think South Africa has us beat. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Bontle, and I'm sorry if I butchered that. So Bontle says that people think that mermaids only live in fairy tales. In South Africa, they don't argue about if, they argue about where. Now Bontle said that evening she wasn't looking for anything in, I'm sorry if I butcher this again, Hout Bay or Hoot Bay. Just out there getting some air. Her aunt had sent her to drop off a plate of food for a cousin that never came to collect it. Market stalls had closed hours ago. The harbor was quiet except for the water hitting the rocks. And the way that the darkness and the moon was reflecting on the water, it kind of gave her the chills. And she said, "I should have gone home." So Bontle was walking the pier getting some air when suddenly she starts to hear this humming. It wasn't like a song with words. It was a line of notes that carried the same way that the tides do. She described the singing as very soft and alluring. She thought that perhaps there was someone in the water, maybe a fisherman out there just humming and working. So she leans over the pier rail to get a better look at what is humming. She said this is when she saw her. This lady just emerges out of the water, as if she was some sort of gift revealing herself. At first, Bontle convinced herself that is just a woman in a silver dress. Now, the moonlight does tricks on the water and her skin caught it like a mirror. Bontle said that her hair looked wet, but it didn't drip. It floated around her face as if the water loved it too much to let it go. She didn't smile, she didn't blink, just watched Bontle while humming that same melody. Bontley puts out her hand and greets the lady. She says that the humming stopped. "Come," she said. As simple as if she had just offered Bontley a chair. Bontley said that her body stepped forward before her brain even decided. She put the Tupperware on the pier post and climbed down the ladder. She steps into the water. Water met her calves, then her thighs. The whole time, Bontley is telling herself that she's just cooling off, just curious. She recalls that the water itself was warmer than the air. The rocks underneath her feet were smoother than she remembered. The tide was going crazy. As she's walking, the lady says, "Stop there." So Bontley did. Bontley asked the lady, "What is your name?" This lady tilted her head as if names were a game that only children played back on land. With her head cocked, the lady responded with, "I sing." She responded as if that was her name. I thought this lady reached out and touched her shoulder with 2 fingers. She described the touch like a mint in a sore throat. It's really specific. She said she shivered, not because she was cold, from how right it felt. So Bontley told the lady, "You shouldn't be here." That's what she do when she's scared. She turned into somebody's mother. She tells this lady that the night water is not for playing. She said the lady nodded as if she had just given her some good advice and responded with, "Then don't play." Then the lady slowly starts to sink into the water. Suddenly, Bontley felt something brush her feet. Was it fish, a rope, seagrass? The water tugged at her gently. Way a small child tugs at your sleeves. "Come," the water said. "Just a little more." As she's stepping through the water, she's asking this lady where is she going. She says she maybe took 2 steps before the bottom fell away. One moment there were rocks underneath her feet, and the next moment it was nothing but depth. Her stomach dropped. The hum returned, and it sounds like it's coming from everywhere. In front of her, next to her, behind her, everywhere at once. She spun to look behind her. She said that pier seemed far further than it should have been. What was 5 steps to her into the water came 50 steps. Bontley says, "Wait!" And she's so deep at this point she's swallowing water. That's when she felt something suddenly hold her ankles. She had to kick, scream to get that thing off her legs. However, that grip was so tight. The very next thing she knew, she was being yanked underneath the water. Now, this is a very long mermaid encounter. Unfortunately, I can't give it all to y'all in one part. We would be here for 30 minutes. But if you want part 2, go ahead and leave a comment for part 2. If you are not already, make sure you are following me. Click the plus button for more spooky content. Like I say at the end of every single video, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. So now let's talk about what happened below. So the moment Bontley, I'm trying my best with the pronunciations, Bontley's head slipped under and the ocean changed. The noise of the waves vanished, placed by an echoing hum inside of her skull. And she said that it was weird because she wasn't sinking like she should have. Instead, it felt like the water itself was carrying her, tugging her deeper and deeper through what she describes a tunnel under the rocks. She said she was fighting for her life, but something was wrapping itself even tighter around her ankles. And she said whatever that thing was that was wrapping itself around her ankle didn't feel rough, it just had a tight grip. She said her lungs were screaming. Though she could breathe, her lungs, though, were on fire. And Bontley says that she's shocked that she didn't black out immediately. And as she is traveling under the water, this strange calm feeling just washed over her. It's like she wanted to freak out, but she couldn't. She just felt at ease just suddenly. Now she says underneath that water, she was not able to see clearly. She said all she was seeing was like greenish, bluish haze. And she recalls seeing shapes moving alongside her, dark outlines, long hair like nets. She says one of them, the one who had led her to the water, swam close to her. And at this point, Bontley is saying that her eyes are burning from salt. But she says she was able to make out a face that shifted in and out of focus. And she describes the face as sometimes beautiful, sometimes hideous and predatory. The mermaid didn't speak, but her mouth moved, and the hum grew louder. And she says that the longer that the melody, the humming is going, the more she starts to feel her body relaxing. And she describes the hum as not being simply a sound, but like a command, like I'm making you do something. She says she was then pulled into a cavern, and pretty much the sea floor was elevated, kind of like a bed of stones. And Bontley says that the mermaid pressed her down onto it, the bed of rocks that is, and circled her ankles with strands of seaweed that tightened into knots. And in Bontley's hand, she placed a single cowrie shell. This is my second time hearing of cowrie shells. What are those things? And she said that she didn't understand what it represented at the time either. Is it supposed to be an offering, a mark, a claim? Who knows? Now this is the part that Bonclé says that her vision starts to fade. She says last thing she remembers, the mermaid leaned in close, whispering in a voice that felt both inside and outside of her body. She said she still remembers what she whispered to her. We see that you are not ready, so sleep now and wake up when the tide allows. She said she closed her eyes, and when she woke up, she was back on the pier. No recollection of how she got there. That she was on the pier, coughing, weak, and freezing, and honestly, confused. Her clothes soaked, her phone is ruined. She said the seaweed were still around her ankles, and she had no choice but to believe what she went through because the single cowrie shell was still in her palm. She said the seaweed left bruises around her ankles that are still there, reminding her of this experience till this day. As she was walking back home, confused and dazed, some people told her that you were spared, and some even told her, don't go back. Bonclé survived, but her life was never the same. And if you want to hear more about Bonclé's life, she said there's plenty more where that comes from. Listen, I'm trying my best with the pronunciations, okay? I was not letting it go how I was pronouncing Bonclé. From what I gathered in the comments, it's Bonclé. I could be wrong. If you like spooky content and spooky stories and you're not following me, then what are you doing? Make sure you hit that follow button from your favorite Haitian homegirl. From pooping on a grave to scamming, saying that you are the reason that people are coming out to St. Lucia Carnival and that you carried St. Lucia on your back. I fear that y'all are ruining influencing in the Caribbean scene for the rest of us, content creators and influencers. So I've carefully crafted a set of simple rules for outside influencers and content creators to practice when they're at Carnival. Let's go over it, shall we? You go to Carnival. You do Carnival respectfully. You go home. And you shut the fuck up. One more time. You do Carnival respectfully. You go home and you shut the fuck. I also want to say that content creators and influencers are not the same job. Though they interlap, it is not the same thing. I consider myself a content creator, which means that I create content. I have an entire niche of spooky stories. I'm a storyteller, I make content. Now, an influencer's job is slightly different. So according to ChatGPT, a content creator focuses on making things. They produce original content, videos, blogs, photos, podcasts, stories, etc. Sounds like your girl. Their goal is expression, creativity, education, and or entertainment. Audience role, their followers come for their style, perspective, or storytelling. Example, someone who makes spooky TikTok stories, ChatGPT literally said that, travel vlogs, or tutorials regardless of follower count. Now, an influencer focuses on influence and reach, shape opinions, trends, or consumer behavior. Their goal is using their platform and personality to sway people's choices, buying, voting, attending events, supporting causes. Their audience role is their followers must trust their recommendations and lifestyle influence. Example, someone who partners with a brand to promote products, events, or experiences because their audience listens to them. Two completely different jobs. I am a content creator. I do this for the pure love of content and creating, not to boast, you know? I know that people right now are becoming weary of influencers and content creators, but like, don't. It's also possible that a content creator can also be an influencer. I'm telling y'all that as a content creator, myself, works in both areas, the American scene and the Caribbean scene now. One thing that I have learned, PR training is actually important. When you are in the public eye, what you say and how you say things matter. I wasn't always the best with my mouth. I've done and said some crazy shit. I really had to tighten up, learn from other people's mistakes. I can present myself in the best possible light. It's probably even okay that you may feel like you carried St. Lucia on your back. You might be able to even tell your therapist about this. Bring back diaries. To be so bold as an outsider, you don't know who is watching your page. To say that you carried this country's carnival that existed long before you and will exist long after you, a bold statement to say the least. It's really important that we just... It is no shade to the girl because I actually know her, but like I said, I'm a content creator and I cover things that I see in the media. I'm your favorite Haitian homegirl. South Africa is really not a real place. Somebody from South Africa submitted a story to me telling me that people don't only get kidnapped by mermaid spirits, that there are other types of spirits in the water that kidnap people, i.e. snake spirits. I am back with another spooky story. Now this story is called The Snake Husband. So in parts of Africa, people whisper about the Mami Wata spirits, water beings who can appear human but often take form of a snake. And they say if one of them falls in love with you, there is no escape. So a young woman, we're gonna call her Amara. Amara lived near a forest river. Every evening she fetched water alone. Although the elders warned her, never answer if you hear your name called by the river. So one night, Amara was just fetching her water, minding her business. Suddenly she heard it, and it was like a soft, deep, and a very sweet voice. Called her Amara. She turned, but no one was there. She turned back and she notices that the waves in the water was just a bit strange. So that night, she doesn't think anything of it. She goes about her business, gets her water, goes home, and returns the following day. Now, the next day, when she returned to the same spot, mind you, this time, a tall, handsome man stood at the riverbank, dressed in white. The man was described to have really long eyelashes, and his eyes seemed like they had a glimmer in them. And he also had an interesting smile. However, the man was alluring and handsome. He was beautiful, and it seemed like he had his eyes set on Amara. The second Amara saw this dude, she was enamored. He approached her to talk to her, and surprise, surprise, within them getting to know each other, it seems like this man is Amara's dream man, the husband that she had been so patiently waiting for this whole time. Like, even his voice was soft. And while they were talking by the water, he offered her gifts, protection, and even love. Amara left, her chest tight. She just met the man of her dreams. How could she say no? So the person who submitted the story was Amara's sister. So she's telling it from her POV. Well, Amara started seeing this guy. They started going out to date, and Amara seemed like she was falling head over heels. 2 months into the relationship, Amara really started to want to meet the guy's parents, go to his house. However, he was always hesitant. Every time they would see each other, he would come pick her up, or they would just hang out in Amara's house. Well, 2 months into them dating, people noticed Amara changing. Her skin grew unusually smooth and cold. Her pupils became narrow like slits. At night, the weirdest thing, her family heard hissing coming from her room. And when they entered, the hissing was gone. Her skin started to shed like that of an actual snake. At this point, Amara's mother is having nightmares that there's a snake in her house. The next thing we know, the two kept dating and they became inseparable. Even though Amara looked like she was getting worser and worser. If you want to hear about how this story ended, how Amara's family found out that her boyfriend was actually a snake spirit, leave a comment saying part 2. And if you like spooky stories and this is not your first time, or it is your first time seeing my face, and you love spooky content, make sure you hit the follow button for more spooky stories. So Amara meets this beautiful man by the water and they become inseparable. Now Amara's sister, upon meeting him, had her own reservation. She said, and I kid you not, the man's eyes damn near glowed. Even at nighttime, his eyes glimmered. He just seemed like something else. So Amara's sister would try to warn her about him, but to Amara, it kind of came off like the sister was being a hater, considering the sister was still single. At that point, the two sisters get into argument, and Amara's sister decided that she will no longer speak on that relationship. The beautiful man winds up proposing to Amara. So Amara comes home and lets her family know that she's getting married. Everybody else seemed to be happy for Amara, and they asked Amara to meet her fiance's family. The only thing is, though, Amara herself has never met that man's family. So now there's a lot of pressure on Amara to make this meeting happen. So she goes to her man and starts putting pressure on him. One day, I guess he finally caved and he was like, okay, I will introduce you to my family. He basically told her that she had already accepted his proposal, which means that she's accepting of him, and that maybe it is the right time that she meets the family. And Amara's thinking maybe this guy is just really formal. So I guess when he figured that Amara was finally ready to meet the fam, he took Amara to the water, and Amara's probably wondering what is she doing here back at the same spot that they met. Well, this man took Amara to the water, inside of the water. Since Amara's sister was the one who submitted the story, at that moment she had no idea what had happened. Her sister was gone for 3 weeks, and everybody back on Earth is worried sick about this girl. Her sister thought that her boyfriend did something to her, might have unalived her, and considering people went around looking for the boyfriend too, well, the fiance, and no one could find either of them. People are thinking they eloped, or thinking that he unalived her. It's so many different theories going on. But when Amara comes back to find out what they found out, shocking, to say the least. Well, Amara comes back to Earth 3 weeks later soaked. Her sister saw her walking in the yard, looking dazed and confused. She was soaking wet and she looked like a zombie. And the thing about her that sent chills down her sister's back was the fact that her sister barely recognized her at first. That's how different she looked after those 3 weeks. Her hair's texture was different. Her hair was straight and kind of stringy looking. Her eyes had the same glimmer that her fiance had. Her skin, at least 5 shades lighter. One look at her, you can just tell that she wasn't a product of God. The crazy thing about it too, when she came back, everyone had all these questions. Where did you go? What happened to you? Why do you look like this? Amara was mute. She could not speak. They would ask her about her fiance. For 3 months, Amara didn't mutter a word. During those 3 months, she would constantly go missing and come back in the same state. People started keeping watch to make sure that she stays in her bedroom at night. Invited the neighborhood's priests and pastors to come and pray over this girl because nobody knew what was going on. And the entire neighborhood started coming together to pray for Amara. And after 9 months, Amara's skin started darkening up. She went completely bald, and slowly but surely she started looking normal again. After 9 months, she started to speak. And when she spoke again, she talked about what she saw below and how it horrified her and shook her to her core. After the 9 months, Amara decided to give up her life to Jesus Christ because what she had saw was enough to convince her that God was real. Now, if you want to hear exactly what Amara saw under the water, what Amara reported back to her family when she came back, honestly, this shit is horrifying and a little mind-boggling. This story is getting way too long. You're gonna have to leave a comment for part 3. Make sure you press the plus button to follow me for more spooky content. So Amara met a beautiful man by the water. He was beautiful, mysterious, caring, and before Amara knew it, she fell head over heels. Even though Amara's sister always had some reservations towards him, Amara still went on to accept his proposal when he proposed. Amara's family really wants to meet her fiance's family. However, Amara herself has never met his family. The family's putting pressure on Amara to make this happen, and Amara is now putting pressure on her fiance to make the meeting happen. Well, the fiance finally decided that Amara was ready to meet the fam. Except it wasn't your typical family meeting. He took Amara back to the water where they just met. And what Amara witnessed getting into that water left her mute for 9 months. So Amara says that she was confused as to why he was walking into the water with her. However, before she can even think, it seems like they're getting pretty deep in. And before she knows it, the water starts to close in on her. She says as soon as the water closed over her, the river just went silent. She didn't hear no splashes, no bubbles, but she was hearing this hum that was just shaking her to her bones. She said they just kept going deeper and deeper, and the deeper they went, the colder it became. Yet Amara said her skin was burning like fire. Every time she grasped for air, instead of drowning, she actually felt like water was being poured into her lungs, and it was making her chest tight. So they kept swimming, and they finally get to this place. It looks like some sort of palace, and it didn't look like it was built. It looked like it was grown. It said that the walls were made of like twisted serpents, and it seemed like they were twisting endlessly to make this palace. And she remembers looking at this palace glistening. The scales is glistening. Amara says this wasn't even the strange part. This one is really hard for her to explain, but she says every shadow on the cavern walls looked like a human silhouette until she realized they were humans. And some of them looked like they were half swallowed into stones. They didn't move. Their eyes were still darting, still very much awake. The next thing too is nobody's face was ever the same. One moment they looked like beautiful men and women with black hair. Next they looked monstrous. It seemed like they were changing, morphing right in front of her. She said she first met the patriarch, which is the father serpent. His body is man-shaped from chest up. His lower half is massive, and his bottom half is like this twisted, curled up serpent's tail. The tongues were unusually long and slit, and Amara is looking into the serpent's eye. As Amara is looking into the serpent's eye, she feels this sense of familiarity. She looks back at her fiance, and she realized they have the same eyes. That creature is his father. Then came the mother serpent. She remembers her upper body was draped in something like a gown, and her hair was alive. Think Medusa. It was a swarm of thin, pale water snakes slithering and weaving into braids. They were all moving in unison. She says her teeth also were not human. They looked like long needles. And then there were some other little spirits that looked like siblings. Well, everyone gathered. This is when she witnessed a ritual. So they welcomed her by offering her a feast of drowned spirits. She says that they had these figures sitting at a long table, dressed like brides and grooms, and their lips looked like they were sewn shut. And suddenly, the mother serpent slithers towards Amara, hands her a crown, and said to her, "You are to wear this once you give us your firstborn." And in that moment, Amara is realizing that she might be in trouble. Now, Amara says she was playing it cool. It's not like she was able to verbally speak underwater, so she was just playing it cool, hoping that didn't end her. But the entire time in her head, what they didn't know, but the whole time in her head, Amara was repeating Psalm 23 verse 4 over and over in her head. Yeah, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. She kept saying that and calling on to God. She says she doesn't know what happened. When she came back to herself, she was home and people were praying over her and she was disoriented. And as desperate as Amara was to speak, she wasn't able to say a word. Not until 9 months later, while she recalled all of this, after she gave her life to Jesus Christ. Wow, what a spooky story. South Africa, If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, go ahead and DM it to me and hit the follow button for more spooky content. It seems like some people just hate their 4C hair. And as a 4C queen, you could never make me hate my 4C hair. First of all, I do want to say that the girlies with 4C hair. 4C hair is the only hair type that can replicate every other hair texture. Whether it's straight, looser curl, it doesn't matter. You can manipulate your 4C hair to match everybody else. But nobody else can replicate 4C curls. You either got it or you don't. Baby, I got some coil. Nobody else can have the 4C curls. Sorry, I don't make the rules. It's exclusive. So besides having exclusive hair, I did want to take this time to show you how amazing my 4C hair is. I'm actually obsessed. We're the real shapeshifters. And by the way, all these pictures were taken within the past 4 months. This was my hair literally a couple days ago, actually. This is also one of my favorite hairstyles. I think I did this like 2 months ago. I know you can't see my face. You're just gonna have to take my word for it that this is also the same hair. I believe I took this picture last month. Now, we all love a puffy look. She is so luxe. I call it the mushroom. And she can also be so petite and demure. It's giving to me. Straight hair is genuinely not my favorite, but she also makes the cut. It's the same hair, you guys. This was 3 months ago. Her again, believe it or not. And yeah, I just wanted to say that 4C hair is amazing and beautiful in every state, as is my hair right now. And people with natural hair are the real shapeshifters. From your favorite 4C homegirl. Following the Scam the Brand controversy, I feel like people are really taking this time to really try to discredit colorism. Now, I think that two things can be true at once. Hear me out. Whereas people may not want to work with someone because of their character, it can also be true that people may not want to work with that person because of the color of their skin. Now, to act like us in the Caribbean are above that is crazy. The darker you are, the less your chances are. Even if we look at modeling, costume modeling in the Caribbean, you have a bunch of racially ambiguous girls, white girls modeling carnival costumes. And I'm seeing way too many people taking this as an opportunity to get up here on Black people's internet to try to discredit colorism because she's a scammer. Hold on. Two things really can be true at once. You can be a dark-skinned scammer. People are still gonna judge you based on how you look without knowing that you're a scammer first. And I'm seeing so many women defending that. And mind you, women who are maybe possibly a couple of shades lighter than me. It's not even really giving light skin. Y'all are so excited to get up here on the internet and say, see, we've been telling y'all, people don't want to work with you, not because you're dark skinned, but because you're a scammer. It's both. And I hate to see it. It really shows me how much y'all really actually hate dark-skinned women. So you telling me all over the world, not just in the Black community now, right? All over the world. Okay, let's look at the Indians, for example. Colorism is running rampant in India, okay? The darker Indians do not get no screen time. Colorism is a thing worldwide. The darker you is, the less people fuck with you because the white man made it so. And y'all, as melanated people, just carrying on what the white man started. And I see Black people all the time defending colorism. The second you're not dark skinned, because people really think that brown skin is so different from dark skin. You have people who are brown skinned, possibly a little light in the wintertime, talking about colorism like it's a myth. Which also goes to show me how uneducated people really are. Because colorism affects us all as the Black diaspora. And those of y'all who are talking as if you don't suffer from colorism, baby, you do. Because the type of light skin that benefits from colorism isn't your type of light skin. A lot of y'all are bi Felicia type of light skin and think that that's the light skin that benefits from colorism. Baby, The type of light skin that benefits from colorism is the Zendaya type, the Lotto type. It's not the Ikane type of skin complexion. It is not the light-skinned girl from down the block. Now, while men in the community might look at your skin tone and say, well, yours is a little bit lighter, so it's a little bit better. You don't have to be scared of a dog for it to bite you. You don't have to believe that colorism exists, is well and alive, for it to also affect you. Because if you are, or you were the type of light skins that they were talking about, then why is people in y'all black ass islands going out of their way to hire white and ambiguous Zendaya and Lotto looking people to be their models, to be their influencers, taking a valid spot away from you? No, babe, colorism does exist. And Scam the Scammer does experience colorism as well. I experience colorism as well. Let's not use this time to be ignorant, please.